The Bank of Korea has raised its benchmark interest rate by a quarter percentage point to 2.75%. This marks the central bank's first rate hike in 3.5 years, since January 2023. The United States launched another round of fresh strikes against Iran, further escalating tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran's lead negotiator said Tehran has no reason to abide by its peace deal with Washington if Iran saw no benefit from it. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will look at partnering with South Korean and other foreign shipbuilders to strengthen the U.S. Navy. His comments come after a senior Korean official recently said that Trump does not appear to rule out the possibility of U.S. naval vessels being built in South Korea. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. The Bank of Korea has raised its benchmark interest rate by a quarter percentage point to 2.75%. It's the first rate hike since January 2023. The decision comes as inflation has remained in the 3% range for 2 consecutive months, while growth forecasts have been revised upward on the back of strong semiconductor exports. The central bank was also under pressure as the exchange rate remained elevated at around 1,500 Korean won per US dollar, while rising housing prices and growing household debt fueled concerns over financial stability, making it increasingly difficult to delay an interest rate hike. Experts forecast the Bank of Korea's next base rate increase to come in October, although some believe another hike could come as early as August. Heavy selling led by major semiconductor stocks triggered a sell-side sidecar on both of Korea's main stock markets this morning. The benchmark KOSPI opened 4.45% lower at around 6,900. Continued losses triggered a sell-side sidecar just 10 minutes into trading, halting trading for 5 minutes. Samsung Electronics dipped more than 4%, and SK Hynix was down over 8% in early trading. A sell-side sidecar was also triggered later on the secondary KOSDAQ, as the index slipped more than 4%. The United States launched 2 waves of strikes against Iran on Wednesday evening, and with Tehran vowing to defend the Strait of Hormuz, neither side appears ready to back down. Our Kim Jun-ho reports.
The United States launched additional strikes against Iran on Wednesday evening local time as the renewed exchange of attacks entered a 5th straight day. U.S. Central Command posted on social media that the latest attacks were aimed at weakening Iran's ability to threaten ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The strikes followed Tehran's claim that it had hit U.S. military targets across the region, including in Bahrain and Kuwait. Earlier the same day, U.S. forces carried out an early morning missile strike on Greater Toom, an island Iran uses to monitor shipping through the Persian Gulf. Late on Tuesday, U.S. President Donald Trump had threatened strikes on Iranian bridges and power plants if Tehran failed to return to talks next week. Asked the following day whether he would set a deadline, he declined but repeated his warning.
I don't like giving deadlines, but they pretty much know. They know the story. They better behave.
He later said Iran wants to settle so badly, but added that Washington would decide whether to reach a deal or just finish it off. Meanwhile, Iran has shown no sign of backing down. Iran's lead negotiator Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf said on Wednesday that Tehran had no reason to honor its memorandum of understanding with Washington if Iran saw no benefit from it. He added that its national security lies in preserving its own arrangements over the Strait of Hormuz. Still, he left the door open to negotiations, calling for closer coordination between military action and diplomacy. He described war and diplomacy as 2 ways to defend Iran's national interests, saying negotiations at this stage do not amount to capitulation. Kim Jun-ho, Arirang News.
And the United States is also signaling it could turn to South Korea to help rebuild its aging naval fleet. President Donald Trump says his administration will probably consider partnering with South Korean and other foreign shipbuilders as Washington looks to strengthen the U.S. Navy. Our Lee Seung-jae explains more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says his administration will likely consider working with South Korean and other foreign companies as part of efforts to strengthen the U.S. Navy through expanded shipbuilding cooperation. Speaking at the Defense and Innovation Summit at the U.S. Army War College in Pennsylvania on Wednesday, Trump said the United States needs to rebuild its shipbuilding capacity, noting that while the U.S. still has the world's strongest Navy, many of its vessels are aging. He added that Washington will not only build more ships domestically, but will also probably purchase some vessels built overseas, saying the U.S. needs a much larger fleet.
So we're going to probably look at some of these companies that are coming in from South Korea and other places, and they're working with us on ships. And we're going to also buy some ships that are made outside of the area.
However, Trump did not clarify what he meant by ships being made outside of the area. The remarks come as Washington looks to deepen cooperation with South Korea, which is home to some of the world's largest and most advanced shipbuilders. Earlier this month, the South Korean presidential office said Trump appears open to the possibility of U.S. naval vessels being built in South Korea. The issue was also reportedly discussed during Trump's meeting with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France last month, highlighting growing interest in expanding bilateral cooperation in the defense and shipbuilding sectors. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The UNESCO World Heritage Committee has recommended that Japan take further steps to fully reflect the whole history of the Sado Mine World Heritage Site, saying current efforts remain insufficient, particularly regarding the wartime mobilization of Korean laborers. The recommendation was included in a draft decision released Wednesday after the committee reviewed Japan's conservation report submitted late last year. When the Sado mine was inscribed as a World Heritage Site in 2024, UNESCO called on Japan to present the site's complete history across all periods of mining activity, consult closely with relevant parties, and improve its exhibition strategy. The draft decision will be discussed at the committee's 48th session in Busan next week and is expected to be adopted by consensus unless member states raise objections. Interest in Korea's traditional culture continued to grow in the first half of the year, with 7,410,000 visits recorded at the country's royal palaces and Jongmyo Shrine. According to provisional data from the Korea Heritage Service on Thursday, visits to the four major royal palaces, Gyeongbokgung, Changdeokgung, Changgyeonggung, and Deoksugung, as well as Jongmyo Shrine between January and June rose by 6.6% from a year earlier. Of the total, approximately 2.27 million were foreign visitors, accounting for around 30% of all admissions. Among the royal palaces, Gyeongbokgung Palace attracted the largest number of visitors, welcoming more than 3.65 million during the first 6 months of the year. The Korea Drone and UAM Expo 2026 kicked off this week in Incheon, showcasing a wide range of next-generation air mobility technologies. Our Lee Ji-yeon was there.
The answer to heavy traffic may soon lie in the skies. A domestically developed urban air mobility aircraft has been unveiled to the public ahead of a flight demonstration on Wednesday. Urban air mobility, or UAM, is a new form of transportation that uses highly automated electric aircraft to carry passengers and cargo over relatively short distances. According to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, UAM can cut travel times in congested downtown Seoul by 76%. Instead of getting stuck into morning traffic, imagine hopping into this UAM vehicle and soaring above the city. The government aims to commercialize UAM by 2028, with testing of the technology already underway. Korea Drone and UAM Expo 2026 opened Wednesday, showcasing advanced technologies and a new vision for the future of aviation. The UAM Pavilion offers a range of hands-on programs for visitors, They can experience what it might be like to travel by UAM in 2028. Using a flight simulator, visitors can take a virtual journey over Jeju Island and see its major landmarks from the air.
Flying over downtown Jeju felt incredibly realistic. It was almost like being on an actual flight.
The future of drones is also on full display. In the corporate pavilion, Korean Air showcased its Loyal Wingman drone, an unmanned military aircraft that works as a bodyguard, protecting fighter jets flown by humans. Although still under development, the final goal is to equip this drone with AI pilot technologies.
Our ultimate goal is to secure a leading position in the unmanned aerial vehicle market, both at home and abroad.
Meanwhile, Incheon Metropolitan City has introduced drones boosting local safety and disaster response. Starting this year, the city has been utilizing them to inspect vacant houses for safety and prevent heatwave damage, with plans to expand the initiative in the future. Efforts are accelerating to bring this next-generation air mobility technologies into everyday life. Held under the theme Reshaping Daily Life, Designing the Future, Korea Drone and UAM Expo 2026 runs through Friday. 이주연, Arirang News.
Major powers, including the United States, China, and Russia, are racing to become the first to build a permanent base on the moon, but many challenges still remain. And now, an American company is even exploring plans for what could become the first hotel on the moon. Our Kim Sa-young reports.
A U.S. startup has unveiled plans to open a moon hotel in 2032. It has even launched a reservation page to begin attracting potential guests. Some critics say it is no more than a publicity stunt designed to draw attention rather than offer a realistic plan. But the proposal is detailed enough that it may be too early to dismiss it outright. The European Space Agency is working on ways to make bricks using lunar soil and 3D printing technology. A wide range of research is also underway to make long-term survival on the moon possible. And SMRs are now part of the conversation, as humans will need a stable source of energy on the lunar surface. After China and Russia announced plans to deploy a nuclear power plant on the moon in the 2030s, the United States set its own target for 2030, concerning that it could fall behind.
One day on the moon lasts a month. There's two weeks of sunlight, 2 weeks of darkness, and so you can put solar panels on one side and on the other.
Drinking water and air could be produced by using electricity to break down the abundant ice found on the moon. The hydrogen generated in that process could also be reused as fuel for spacecraft and other purposes.
We could turn that frozen ice into liquid water for drinking, and then convert it and split it into oxygen and hydrogen for breathing and for fuel.
When and how these technologies begin to bear fruit could shape the next chapter of lunar exploration and perhaps the future of humanity beyond Earth. Kim Sa-young, Arirang News.
As the number of people raising aquatic pets continues to climb, related industries are experiencing rapid growth. In response to these market trends, local governments are stepping up to nurture specialized professionals to lead the industry. Our Cha Young has more.
A picturesque ecosystem unfolds inside a water tank, complete with rolling hills. Tiny fish dart back and forth through the crevices of the stones. Enveloped in a soft mist, the aquarium resembles a serene lakeside at dawn. This is aquascaping, the art of crafting underwater environments using water, wood, and stones. Aquatic creatures have now become the most popular pets after dogs and cats. As the aquascaping industry enjoys steady growth, local governments have taken the initiative to cultivate young talent. By providing both theoretical knowledge and hands-on training to local vocational high school students, they are creating a stepping stone for them to become professional aquascapers. Moving forward, the local government plans to expand its support to help these students successfully transition into the aquascaping workforce.
At first, I thought it was just about decorating a fish tank. But as I pay closer attention to things like water quality and lighting, it feels like I'm creating a miniature ecosystem.
Ornamental fish have established themselves as one of the top companion animals. As this industry continues to expand, we aim to support interested students so they can secure jobs.
Celebrated as a form of living art that brings nature indoors, the aquascaping industry is gaining traction, throwing a brighter spotlight on the value of technical training and talent cultivation. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
This is the world now. Argentina have reached the World Cup final with a 2-1 comeback win over England. Enzo Fernandez leveled the score in the 85th minute before Lautaro Martinez scored the winner in the 92nd minute, with Lionel Messi providing the assist for both goals. England had taken the lead in the 55th minute with a goal from Anthony Gordon but could not hold on. Argentina will face Spain in Sunday's final in New Jersey. French lawmakers have passed a bill that creates a legal right to assisted dying for adults with incurable illnesses. The law, approved 291 to 241 in the lower house on Wednesday, lets eligible patients receive a lethal substance, which they can self-administer or have administered by a doctor or nurse if unable to do so themselves. Access is limited to French citizens or legal residents suffering from a serious, incurable, and life-threatening illness in an advanced or terminal phase, who experience constant physical or psychological suffering and can make a free and informed choice. Patients must submit a request reviewed by at least 2 doctors and another healthcare professional, then confirm it after a 2-day reflection period. The bill could still be reviewed by France's Constitutional Council. In Canada, wildfire smoke from northwestern Ontario has given Toronto the worst air quality of any major city in the world, with hazardous smoke spreading into the northeastern United States. Environment Canada rated Toronto's air quality at 10+, its highest very high-risk level, with conditions expected to persist through Thursday night. The smoke has reached New York City, where officials urged residents to limit outdoor activity, days ahead of Sunday's World Cup final in nearby New Jersey. Toronto canceled its FIFA Fan Festival and World Cup watch party because of the poor air quality. Shares in SpaceX fell below their $135 initial public offering price for the first time on Wednesday, marking a 4th straight day of declines. The stock has swung sharply since last month's IPO, which raised a record $86 billion and made SpaceX founder Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. Shares closed just over $135 on Wednesday, down about 1% after climbing above $225 a share in their first month of trading. The stock joined the NASDAQ 100 index last week under a rule change that shortened the eligibility period for newly public companies, bringing in additional investment through index funds. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Monsoon rain is returning to much of southern Korea today, while intense summer heat continues nationwide. Although heat wave alerts have been lifted across many western regions following earlier heavy rain this week, heat wave warnings remain in place in most of Gyeongsangdo provinces. And with heat-related illnesses on the rise, it's best to limit any outdoor activities during the hottest parts of the day. Meanwhile, the monsoon rain will begin in the Jeollado provinces and Jeju-do Island, then spread into Chungcheongdo this afternoon and reach Gyeongsang-do by tonight, with 20 to 80 millimeters in the forecast through tomorrow. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 32 degrees Celsius. Daegu and Gyeongju will make it to 35 degrees, but temperatures will cool off a bit over the weekend in Gyeongsang-do regions as the monsoon rain will continue through the long weekend and into early next week.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.